Assalamu alaikum. I am Afroza Ferdues Anha. My student ID is 21120371227. Now I am going to give an overview on the last monetary policy which was announced in June 2024 by Bangladesh Bank. Today's entire discussion has been divided into four parts. At first, I will give a summary. Then I will talk about the significant changes compared to the last monetary policy. After that, I will talk about the tools which is used by Bangladesh Bank in order to implement the monetary policy. Finally, the suggestions which are needed for the policy reformation will be discussed. The last monetary policy of Bangladesh maintained cautiously a tight stance in order to support economic growth while managing inflation and exchange rate pressures. In this policy, Bangladesh Bank continued to reduce the money supply through open market operations and refraining from creating new money for government spending. It kept the repo rate at 8.50%, the SDF rate at 7%, and the SLF rate at 10% unchanged. Bangladesh Bank maintained a crawling peg system in order to stabilize the exchange rate. Overall, the last monetary policy of Bangladesh aimed to strike a balance between supporting economic growth with managing inflation and exchange rate pressures. While the policy has already shown some initial success, though challenges remain, however, the Bangladesh Bank will need to continue monitoring the situations closely and take actions take necessary actions as needed. Now, the significant changes compared to the last monetary policy. Compared to the previous policy, we can see some significant changes such as reducing the money supply through open market operations, stabilizing the exchange rate, providing credit support to agriculture and cottage, micro, small, and medium enterprises, and finally, increasing the repo rate shows a tighter monetary policy which aimed at curbing inflation. Basically, these changes reflect the Bangladesh Bank efforts to balance economic growth with managing inflation and exchange rate pressures. Now, the tools which are used by Bangladesh Bank in order to implement the monetary policy, such as open market operations, which refer buying and selling government securities in order to influence money supply and the interest rate. Discount rate, it is the interest rate which is charged by Bangladesh Bank to commercial bank for short-term loans. Lowering the discount rate encourage banks to borrow more, which increase the money supply in the economy, and increasing the discount rate discourage borrowings, which reduce the money supply in the economy. Reserve requirements, it's the amount of deposit banks must hold as reserves with the Bangladesh Bank. Increasing the reserve requirements reduce the amount of money bank can lend, which refers tightening credit, and reducing the reserve requirements allows banks to borrow more or lend more, which refers loosening credit. Bank rate is the interest rate at which Bangladesh Bank lend to commercial bank for longer term loans. Finally, the cash reserve ratio is the amount of money or the minimum amount of deposit banks must hold as cash in their vaults. Generally, these tools are used in combination to achieve policy objectives such as price stability, promoting economic growth, and ensuring financial sectors regulation. Now, finally, the suggestions which are needed for the policy reformation, though it's quite tough to give suggestions because this depends on the specific economic situations and policy objectives at a given time. However, some general recommendations can include such as normalizing the gradual interest rate, enhancing the exchange rate stability, improving credit allocation, improving monetary policy communication, strengthening fiscal coordination, strengthening financial sectors regulation, and finally enhancing financial inclusion. Implementing these reforms can make a more effective and resilient monetary policy framework in Bangladesh, supporting economic growth and development. However, these reforms and the timings should be carefully considered based on the evolving economic situations and the policy objectives. That's all. Thank you.